Your powers are weak, old man.
You can't win, Darth. If you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
Okay, this is something that I've been waiting to get to for a while, and it's my patrons. I'm going to do something for you a little later, but this is Trump budget cut. The Trump budget would cut 4.4 trillion in spending. I do believe this is over 10 years, boosting defense while slashing safety nets and foreign aid. It's actually from Fox News, believe it or not. The White House on Sunday unveiled a $4.8 trillion budget proposal that would slash spending dramatically on foreign aid and social safety nets, while including $2 billion for a southern border wall and substantially boosting funding to NASA. I wonder if that has anything to do with the asteroid belt, the race to Mars and asteroid belt. But anyway, to NASA, the Department of Veteran Affairs, and the Department of Homeland Security. That makes sense. Fox News has confirmed the details of the budget, which the Wall Street Journal first reported. The package, set to be formally announced on Monday, as is, stood little chance of passage in the House of Representatives, which the Democrats have controlled. Still, it served as a signal of the president's priorities as Republicans have aimed to retake the chamber in the 2020 elections. The plan aims to eliminate the federal deficit, or the difference between spending and revenue that is slated to exceed $1 trillion this year, by 2035. In other words, 15 years. Okay. When Obama was running, it was supposed to be eliminated by 2020. Okay. This is hilarious. And all the White House is seeking to cut $4.4 trillion in federal spending over the next 10 years. Obama said that in 2011. Kicking the can. I hear that can being booted down the road, including reductions in spending on food stamps and federal disability benefits through more stringent work and eligibility requirements. In other words, since there ain't no jobs, guess what they're going to do to these people on food stamps and federal disability? Obama actually allowed a lot of people, laid off workers, federal disability to keep them alive. But at the end of the day, it has to be cut. After the 2008-2009 crisis, where you saw a steep decline in the economy, Obama did a lot of this stuff to actually keep people afloat. But at the end of the day, guess what's going to have to happen? And Trump's getting ready to do it anyway. Total cuts to non-defense discretionary programs, which do not include Medicare or Social Security, amount to $2 trillion in savings under the plan. The budget additionally calls for renewing the Trump administration's tax cuts for individuals and families that would otherwise expire in 2025. Modifications in Medicare prescription drug pricings would account for $130 billion in savings. Foreign aid would be reduced by 21%, in keeping with the president's push to have other countries pay what he calls their fair share for their own defense. Trump's temporary suspension of aid to Ukraine helped trigger impeachment proceedings. One of the Republicans' defenses was that the president has long sought to suspend or reduce U.S. financial commitments overseas, especially to notoriously corrupt countries. Bullshit. The EPA would face massive 26% reduction in funding. The Trump administration has rolled back Obama-era EPA regulations and oversight, saying they have hurt the economy for little benefit. The proposal would also cut the Department of Housing and Urban Development, get this, budget by 15%, while incorporating $2.8 billion for grants to help combat homelessness. It'll help California, whether places like New York and places down south. It's going to devastate. And the Centers for Disease Control Prevention would see a 9% cut, although its $4.3 billion allocation for fighting infectious disease would remain amid the coronavirus spread. Homeland Security would grow by 3%. The National Nuclear Security Administration by 19%. Guess they're getting ready to build bombs. And the Department of Veteran Affairs by 13%. The only part I agree with that is the Department of Veteran Affairs. Probably long overdue. The fiscal year 2021 budget further aims to increase military spending by 0.3% to $740.5 billion. Jesus Christ. It doubles spending on artificial intelligence from $973 million to nearly $2 billion by 2022. Go get that money, including a focus on quantum computing. Get that. Fox News reported that this weekend's budget 12% hike in NASA funding with the goal of returning astronauts to the moon. No one has been to the moon since 1972 under NASA's now shuttered Apollo program. They're racing Chinese. NASA's new space program called Artemis, for the Greek goddess of the moon and sister to Apollo, has aimed to put the first woman on the moon. Long term, NASA has wanted to establish a sustainable human presence on the moon with the goal of sending humans to Mars in the 2030s. What did I tell you? Trump's budget would specifically increase NASA spending from $22.6 billion to $25.2 billion in the fiscal 2021. One of the biggest spending increases requested in the 1990s. $3 billion will go toward new funding to develop human landers. The biggest lunar budget requested, in addition to Trump's astronomical project, the Space Force. Trump signed an Oval Office directive last February to make the Space Force the sixth branch of the military, with a mission to patrol the orbit and protect the U.S. from attacks. Anyway, the biggest takeaway is the HUD program. They're gonna slash HUD by 15%. Wow. And we saw that with educational block grants and stuff like that slash school budgets and basically reduce the amount of money going to states. And we see what the result was as far as education. But hopefully they will actually free up the directives that the Department of Education has given the local school systems over the past few years so they can actually do other things. Hopefully they'll spend this money more effectively. I expected the withdrawal of foreign aid for defense. Trump has been wanting to do that for a long time. I expected that. It's more of a isolationist policy, I think it is. Well, although we all know that the tax cuts are going to, they said they're going to extend. That's going to be a Republican talking point. But as far as welfare and HUD, man, you're going to get rolled back. But the block grants for homeless, hey, that is a serious political campaign talking point, and rightfully so. Trump is putting a lot of pressure on the Democrats, especially the Democrats in New York and California, to actually combat homelessness. So he's actually going to give them a block grant of money to actually do it, which is good old politics 101. Hey, for all you homeless advocates, time to get on board and actually use it. But more cuts are coming. It is what it is. That sound you just heard was the can being kicked down the road as far as the budget is concerned. $4.4 trillion is not going to do very much when you're $21 trillion in the hole. And at the time Obama did it, I think we're $10 trillion in the hole. And they were supposed to cut $1 trillion a year until 2020. We're supposed to be out of this hole by now. But, as they say, Robert and Bruce says, the plans of mice and men hath go a glee. And so they have. So get ready, folks. Here comes the budget. Here comes more slashes. Here comes more slash to the aid programs, food stamps, housing, which means Section 8, welfare, and the work requirements. How they're going to work that out with no jobs, I have no clue. But stay tuned. But with that, I'm going to bounce off of this one. This is BGS out, and I'll see you guys on the next one.